Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Living Beyond Limits. You all know I'm Reverend Jennifer Spear. We are a part of Centers for Spiritual Living. I'm so glad that you came here this morning to spend your morning with us. And for those of you joining us online, welcome also. And so let's begin this today by reading our mission statement that's on the front of your bulletin. We are a sanctuary where people can discover and reveal the presence of God within their own being and experience their oneness with all life. Through the realization of this inner presence of love and peace, we give way to the evolutionary impulse of the divine and become a beneficial presence in the world. So that's what's really happening here at Living Beyond Limits, is we are waking up to our own divine nature, to the truth that we are primarily spiritual beings of spirit, here living this human incarnation as spiritual beings. But when we remember that what is true of spirit is also true of us, because we are incarnations of that one, we are out-picturings of that divine presence. When we remember that, then we are able to go within ourselves and discover and find and feel the peace that is always present, the love that is always present, the truth of our wholeness and our power and our goodness. Because what happens then is we are not such victims to the world when things out there aren't reflecting that. We can be the ones that stand in our own wholeness, that stand as a power for love and for inclusion and for possibility and for hope and for good, because we already know that it's present. We don't have to bring it in from anywhere. We just bring it forward. And if it's true about us, then it's true about every single person in this world also. And so I thank each one of you for answering the call of your own spirit to be walking this path, because as you awaken, you act as a beneficial presence in this world. So thank you to each and every one of you for bringing your light and your love and your spirit into this world in a way that makes a difference. Thank you for that. Well, happy Easter, everybody. So the title of my talk today is Rising Above. And I'm talking about the symbolism of the Easter story, of Jesus and the resurrection, Jesus rising out of a tomb transfigured, and spring, and how those things apply to us today. For Easter is certainly the ultimate story of overcoming this world and overcoming that which seems impossible. The symbolism of the Easter story has been told throughout eons of time by pagans throughout their history and their stories, the symbolism of that Easter story. It has been told about the goddess Oster, which is where the word Easter comes from. Oster is the goddess of renewal and rebirth and possibilities. She is responsible for renewal and new life, and baby animals, and new flowers, and the growth of spring, all after the darkness of winter and the seeming death of winter. Her symbol is the rabbit, which is to be pregnant with possibility. And so the Easter story tells us the story of a man who rose out of a tomb transfigured. And the symbolism of that rising out of that tomb is rising out of a realm of confinement, rising out of this world of struggle, a realm of limitation, into a realm of freedom and expansiveness and boundlessness and eternality. And so today, Christians celebrate the resurrection and the eternal life. And secular traditions celebrate through Easter baskets and Easter bunnies and Easter eggs, which all of those things come out of those pagan traditions. And so I love that symbolism even of the Easter egg hunt, how it talks about that even though something is hidden, it is still present. We just can't see it. It is waiting for us to discover it. The egg hunt and the eggs themselves speak of possibilities that are waiting to be discovered. Those possibilities that are within us and that are all around us. But it is we who must look if we are to find them. They don't just present themselves without us doing some work to discover them. And so Jesus rising out of that tomb, transformed, tells us that life and we and he are much more than we can see with our human eyes. That there is much more than what we experience with our five senses. We are more than our bodies. We are more than human beings. It tells us that there is a spiritual realm that is ever present. That there is something within us that is spiritual, that is eternal, that is more real and everlasting than this human body self that we are walking around in this world as. It tells us that there is more than we perceive with our human eyes, that we are more than that, and there's nothing that can diminish that. And you remember the story that Jesus had died, and he was in the tomb, and he was there for days because they had to wait till after the Sabbath. But who rolled away the stone? The story says that it was an angel that rolled away the stone. Well, an angel represents that omnipresence of God's thoughts, the omnipresence of light and of spiritual intelligence. And who was it that found him, the story tells us? But it was women. Women are our own intuitive nature. It is the spirit and our spiritual nature that expresses as that vision that we can see that is beyond what we see with our human eyes. It's beyond what we perceive with our five senses. The female, the feminine part of us is the part of us also that knows that we are not limited. That we are not limited by this world of appearances, and that this world of appearances does not have power over us. There is a power and a something that is so much greater than this world. Our ego eyes do not see except this realm of form. It isn't our ego eyes that are able to lift up and see a higher vision. It's our spiritual eyes that are able to see that. It's our intuitive self, our spiritual self. It is through our spiritual eyes that we perceive that higher realm, not through our ego, but through our spirit and through our heart. Eric Butterworth said, "Easter is not a passport to another world. It is a quality of perception for this one. It is not just a day when we recall how Jesus rose from the dead. It is a time to take a new look at ourselves and contemplate the divinity within us, the depths of our own innate God potential. It is a time to reappraise the principle that makes all overcoming possible. The principle that makes all overcoming possible, which is the truth of spirit within us and spirit that is ever present in all things." The problem, as you know, is we get so mesmerized by the news and by social media and by the things that are going on in the world and by what's going on in politics that we think that that is the ultimate reality, and we think that that has power over us. And what happens is when we think that is we start feeling overwhelmed and we feel fearful, and what have we done then? We've created a tomb for ourselves. We are stuck in that tomb where we can't see the light when we think that that is ultimate reality. We get stuck in that tomb and we can't see the light because we aren't elevating our consciousness, because we aren't looking from a higher place and from a higher truth. We can't see what is higher when we look through those human eyes. And like I said, and then we think that this physical world is the ultimate reality. We think that the Easter story is just about Jesus. But to rise above means to rise above our fear and our worry. It means to rise above our incomplete perceptions of reality. It means to rise above our ego perspective. It's not to deny the experience that we're having here and what's happening in the world. It's not to deny that that's not happening. But it's to recognize that there is something bigger, that there is something more, that there is something grander than what we see through those eyes. So the thing I think that enables us to rise out of that tomb that we create for ourselves is to lift our awareness and to recognize that there is more than the material realm. To take our awareness above the material realm and to remember and to contemplate the truth. The truth that we live in a universe of infinite potentiality. The truth that we are the wholeness of spirit in form. A wholeness that cannot be diminished, that cannot be damaged, that cannot be destroyed. A wholeness that cannot be injured, that nothing can happen to that wholeness that we are. To recognize and contemplate and be aware of that we live in a universe that is based on opulence and abundance. We live in this power that is continuously pouring itself forward, continuously creating. And we look all around us at the abundance of everything that fills this world. We live in abundance that is unending. To recognize that there is a boundless creative spirit, a boundless creative potential that is at the center of every single thing. At the center of us, at the center of every situation and circumstance, that is always present. And to contemplate the truth of oneness, that we are one with that infinite presence, one with each other, one with the whole of things. That lifts us out of that tomb, living from that consciousness. And when we live from that consciousness, we are creating heaven right where we stand. Joel Goldsmith said, "The reason for the discords is that God is present only where God is realized. Where God is realized, grace is in expression." So when we lift our awareness above this material realm, when we remember that spirit is within us and within all things, when we remember that, we are able to lift ourselves out of this worry and concern and instead move into this place where we recognize we are the place where the living spirit shows up. We are the place where God shows up. The Easter story reminds us that we can roll away the stone, that which blocks the light, when we remember who we are. We can roll away the stone when we remember who we are, and in turn that transforms us, and out of that new consciousness we make different choices. We make choices and come to the world differently, more loving, more generous, more feeling more safe and more anchored and more peaceful. And then when we come to the world differently, we affect the world differently, and our consciousness of truth affects the whole. So one of the guiding documents, of Centers for Spiritual Living is called the Global Heart Vision. It is about creating a world that works for us individually and a world that works for everyone. It is about supporting the thriving of all human beings and supporting the thriving of this planet itself. I think that global heart vision came out of that elevated consciousness. It did not come out of an ego perspective, a human perspective. Instead, it came from spirit within the people that were part of that visioning process. It came from spirit. I believe that that global heart vision is the call of spirit for us to rise above division and otherness and scarcity and fear. It is an invitation for us to create heaven on earth. And so part of that global heart vision says, we envision a world in which we live and grow as one global family that respects and honors the interconnectedness of life, a world where kinship with all life prospers and connects through the guidance of spiritual wisdom and experience. We envision a world where personal responsibility joins with social conscience in every area of the political, corporate, academic, and social sectors, providing sustainable structures to further the emerging global consciousness. We envision a world where each and every person has enough food, a home, and a sense of belonging, a world of peace and harmony, enfranchisement and justice. I love that. I love about Centers for Spiritual Living that it does not give us a bunch of do's and don'ts, what we should not be doing. It does not give us a bunch of dogma and a bunch of rules. Instead, what it does is it teaches us principle, and then from understanding those principles, we make different choices. That informs our actions and informs our thinking. Spiritual principles that we teach, so then we come from that new spiritual awareness when we're out in the world doing our lives. Some of those spiritual principles that we teach are oneness, that we are one with that infinite presence, one with each other, one with the whole. We teach that there is an omnipresence of spirit. Not just is a little bit of spirit present at every point in space and time, but the wholeness and the allness of spirit is present everywhere. We teach abundance, that we live in this abundant universe that is filled with unending good. We teach the principle of wholeness and eternality, that we are each whole, that wholeness that nothing can destroy, that we are each eternal beings, regardless of what your religious or spiritual beliefs are, or if you have none. We teach the law of circulation, that what you give out is what you get back. We teach the law of mental equivalence, that what you think about and what you believe and what you put your focus on, you magnify in your life out here. And we teach love, that love is the final answer. Love is the animating principle. Love is the ever-givingness of spirit to us. And that love is at the center of everything. And so Centers for Spiritual Living sent out an email this week that I would like to share with you. And it's titled, Immigration, a Spiritual Perspective. In an increasingly interconnected world, immigration is a topic that touches nearly every society. While discussions often center on policy, borders, and economics, Science of Mind offers a unique spiritual lens through which to view immigration, one rooted in oneness, love, and the limitless potential of every individual. By applying the core principles of Science of Mind, we can shift the conversation from division to unity, inclusion, and spiritual freedom. Oneness and unity beyond borders. At the heart of Science of Mind is the principle of oneness, the understanding that we are each individual expressions of the one divine life. Though human-made, borders define nations. Spirit knows no boundaries. Immigration at its core reflects the universal impulse for expansion, movement, and greater self-expression. Just as nature flows without restriction, so too does the human spirit seek environments where it can thrive. Recognizing this truth allows us to see immigrants not as, quote, others, but as fellow divine beings journeying toward a fuller expression. Love and inclusivity, a higher law. Science of Mind teaches that love is the highest principle and the ultimate reality. When we view immigration through the lens of love, we naturally adopt an attitude of compassion. Rather than approaching the subject with fear or scarcity, we are called to embrace those who seek a new home, recognizing their inherent worth and dignity. Love dissolves the illusion of separation and calls us into action as spiritual stewards of kindness and justice. Freedom and creative expression, honoring the soul's journey. A core tenet of Science of Mind is that every individual is a divine co-creator endowed with the freedom to express their highest potential. Many immigrants leave their homelands due to political oppression, economic hardship, or personal danger. Challenges that stifle their ability to fully express their divine nature. When we affirm the principle of freedom, we acknowledge that each person has a sacred right to seek a life where they can flourish. Supporting immigration with compassion aligns us with this fundamental truth. Plenty, not scarcity, a shift in consciousness. Much of the resistance to immigration stems from a scarcity mindset, the belief that there is not enough space, jobs, or resources to go around. However, Science of Mind teaches that we live in an abundant universe where prosperity is created through shared creativity and divine intelligence. When we embrace this truth, we move beyond fear and recognize that societies are enriched economically, culturally, and spiritually by the presence of new voices, talents, and perspectives. Spiritual responsibility and right action. With spiritual understanding comes the responsibility to live in alignment with our highest values. Science of Mind calls us to take right action, not just in personal consciousness, but in the real world. If immigration policies or societal attitudes create harm, we are invited to advocate for justice, equity, and solutions that reflect our spiritual principles. Whether through prayer, activism, support for immigrant communities, or simply shifting our own narratives, we participate in shaping a world that mirrors divine wisdom and love. And lastly, a spiritual call to action. Science of Mind offers more than a philosophy. It is a call to live our spiritual truths in tangible ways. Immigration should not be a political issue. It is a spiritual opportunity to embody oneness, love, and abundance in action. By shifting our consciousness, supporting inclusive policies, and extending compassion to those seeking a better life, we help co-create a world that truly reflects the divine. So Easter is a reminder to us to rise out of the darkness of the tomb, the things that we are focused on that aren't working. To rise out of the tomb of being hypnotized to believe that this world of form is the ultimate power. Instead, to recognize that there is an infinite potentiality and a boundless good that is seeking to express itself in our lives and as this thing we call life. To recognize that there is only one power that includes infinite potentiality, that one power and presence that includes the answer to every question we have, that holds the solution to everything we hold as a problem. It's already present there. We hold to that truth rather than staying in the tomb and only focusing on the darkness and what doesn't appear to be working. So you have some questions in your bulletin that are on a piece of white paper. If you need an insert or if you need a pen, will you raise your hand? And so when we rise up out of that tomb and see from a higher perspective, the perspective of our own spirit, the perspective of our wholeness, the perspective of the oneness of all life, I invite you to ask yourself, how can I show up as love in this circumstance? And I invite you to close your eyes again for just a moment. And again, from that highest consciousness, from the place within us that feels and senses and knows that there is only one of us. There is only one life, and we are a part of it. From that place of our own spirit and our own wholeness, we ask ourselves, how can I affirm that there is enough for all? How can I affirm that there is enough for all? And then to go ahead and flip your paper upside down. And the last one is asking our own divine nature. How can I embody oneness in a world that seeks to divide? I ask my spirit, my own divine essence, how can I embody oneness in a world that seeks to divide? And so I realized in answering these questions, how can I show up as love in this circumstance? I can pray about the immigration stuff that's going on in this country. I have not been praying about it. I could absolutely add my consciousness to that, knowing there is a solution that serves everyone. And how can I affirm that there is enough for all? I can talk abundance wherever I go in my life, which is not something that I do. I'm clear about it, but I don't speak it out loud. I can start doing that in my life, talking about the abundance of this universe and the enoughness. So Reverend Scott Aubrey says, Easter teaches us that the resurrection is not a single moment, but a lifelong rising, step by step, breath by breath, into our fullest selves. And so my invitation to you is to know that the material world around you does not have the final say. To know that the physical world need not define you, that you can roll the stone away through spiritual insight, not your human mind thinking, but through meditating, listening within, visioning, just listening within like you did today, listening to your own divine nature, that rolls away the stone. Perspective insight does. I mean, spiritual perspective does. Recognize that the nature of life itself and the nature of your life is creative potential and boundless possibility. That's what we have to hold when we are praying for this country. Endless possibilities, boundless potentiality is present right here. To know that we are meant to thrive, and that everyone on this planet is meant to thrive. And allow Spirit to have its way through you, through your choices and through your actions, actions of love, actions of healing, actions that create healing, things that make whole. That's what your Spirit wants to do. And as a result of that, we will be actualizing the Easter story here on earth today, rising above that world of fear and worry, transformed. And as we are transformed, then we come to the world differently, and then we transform the things around us. So happy Easter to all of you. Happy celebration of spring and renewal and these endless possibilities and potential that are just awaiting our opening to them. So blessings to all of you. And so I invite you with me just to turn your attention to the capital T truth, the truth that the omnipresence of Spirit is always right where we are, closer than our very breathing, that presence fills every single thing in this entire universe, that which we can see and that which we cannot see. For everything is imbued with this consciousness of Spirit, with the intelligence and the wisdom, with the wholeness, the order and the balance, the perfection, the magnificence, the beauty of the divine is everywhere present. All that we could ever need, all that we could ever want is already present in this invisible realm, not just present, but available to us. For is all we need to do is open ourselves in acceptance. And in that, we create space for it to spring forth. And so today, I recognize that we live in an infinitely abundant universe, that there is enough for every single person on this planet. And right now, things are falling into place, channels for that good to flow so that everyone is able to thrive. I recognize that the presence of love is greater than the presence of fear or worry or concern or doubt or darkness. That love lives within each one of us, regardless of who we are, regardless of what we do. Love is present right there. And today it is the Spirit of the Infinite One expressing itself as love that is stirring the hearts and the minds of every individual, recognizing that this is a day for healing. This is a day for reconciliation. This is a day that God has made. This is a day where we are all part of the human family, part of the oneness of the divine. And there is something stirring in individuals as a recognition of our brother and sisterhood. I recognize that good is unfolding itself in all of our lives, and that a divine intelligence is revealing itself in every mind right now. Every decision maker, every politician, every world leader, every military leader, every person is being led by the love and the light and the wisdom and the intelligence of that one presence that is their own divine beingness. And so it is with a heart filled with gratitude that I release this prayer, knowing that the law always says yes. So we open our hearts and minds in full acceptance, and I invite you to join me in saying, and so it is. So I do have some invitations for you as a way to participate in this family. One is not next week, but the week after. We are doing a pancake breakfast fundraiser after service at Chris and Peggy's house. We are also combining that with the last outreach we did. You guys met at the pizza place and made cards and flowers. We're going to continue making those flowers or filling out cards for those mothers that are staying at the Long Beach Women's Shelter. So, no, cards. We're making cards, not flowers. We're going to be making cards and filling out other cards also. So we are also doing that Mother's Day outreach where we are buying toiletry items for women that are at that shelter. So you're going to bring those that day too. So those cards are going to go in those gift bags that we're making. So there's a sign-up sheet for the pancake breakfast. It is a you pick the price pancake breakfast after service. The Mother's Day thing is toiletry items. There's a list of items that you can purchase. That list is in the back also. Those are due back here May 4th for Mother's Day. I've been announcing, and I think you all know about that I'm putting on a women's retreat July 17th through the 19th in Big Bear, California. If you are interested and haven't yet signed up, talk with me. Our Sunday talks are available on our website and on our Facebook page on Tuesday after Sunday. We invite you to share those with friends and follow us on Facebook and check in on Meetup and say that you're coming and like us and all of those things that you do on social media. We have prayer support after service, and we have prayer shawls, and we have a prayer box. So if you're interested in participating in any of those, you are invited to do that. That's it. So I invite you to repeat after me. Good fills my life now.
Good fills my life now.
I recognize it. I savor it. I own it. I live it. And so it is.